Hello, good afternoon. Today is 8th March 2022, and what is today? International Women's Day. I was invited to a college to speak on this occasion, and this was supposed to be digital. So they were having a physical conference, and I agreed to speak to them via digital mode. And unfortunately, the technology did not work, and finally, I had to, give up. Since I could not connect, so that is sometimes the downside of the technology. But I thought I should not let go of my thoughts and the presentation that I prepared for the students. So I'm going to share it as a recording, and this will be uploaded on our YouTube. So just give me a second. Let me pull up the presentation. So that's it. So okay, friends. So welcome. So this year's, the theme for International Women's Day is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. And time immemorial, we know that women are the foundation of humanity. And I'm not going to get into that, but here I'm just going to talk about my journey, and then connect it to certain thoughts which is already there, available to all of us, and allow us to reflect on this gender inequality and the biases. So during that time I will also like you to reflect on your own potential, right? So, International Women's Day 2022. So, I would like you to reflect on these facts about women and climate change. This was put out by UN Women. 70% of 1.3 billion living in conditions of poverty are women. So, there is poverty, and in the poverty, who is the great sufferer? That they are the women. And in urban areas, 40% of the poorest households are headed by women. Now, that is on the contrary. In urban areas, the women, 40% of them are actually headed by women. Women predominate the world's production, 50 to 80%, but they own less than 10% of the land. That means they actually work in agriculture, in food. They produce, but they do not own them. Does that sound familiar to all of us? 80% of displaced by climate related disasters and changes around the world are women and girls. Climate change may lead to more gender biased violence, an increase in child marriage, and worsening sexual and reproductive health. And we know that, over the years, during the history, we know the war, the terrorist attacks, all those kind of conditions, the women and children, they tend to suffer. You just have to go and watch the recent, video clippings from Ukraine. Yesterday, I was watching a news item from Ukraine where 210 plus, orphan children were, getting displaced from their orphanage, and they were going to another country. Can you imagine what will happen to them as they grow up to be adult women? I don't want to elaborate on that. Violence against women have worsened during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the global scenario. So let's come to nursing now. And we know that 75% of nurses are female, and only 25% of health system leaders are women. It is not just nurses. Across the globe, the figure stands at about 13%, the female or the women in leadership position. So, nursing now, we are all aware of the Nursing Now campaign that had started in 2019. The research by Nursing Now found that the perception of nursing as a feminine and nurturing profession and the devaluation of women's work played a part in preventing female nurses from climbing the career ladder. So the perception of the profession itself is a weakness for us. That's what they found. So the challenges that we are going to face are also going to be greater because we are starting with a disadvantage. On top of it, I also believe that our own culture, the Indian culture, where females are treated as submissive and the second citizen, you really need extra courage and extra risk taking capabilities to come out of those glass ceiling. The report stated that the nurses faced stereotypes of women and nurses, and the nurses' competency authority are distrusted. Now, does that sound familiar to many of the senior people who might be watching this video? You are capable, you know what to do, but then do your male counterparts they believe that you are capable of making those decisions? Hard question. Maybe you would like to reflect on that. Nurses who responded to the survey also highlighted the glass escalator effect. This is not glass ceiling, this is a glass escalator effect, in which they found that if male nurses are there, they tend to, go up the ladder faster than the female counterparts. Now, that may not be the case in our Indian setting because our male nurses are just about 20 percentage, and I feel in India we are biased towards our male counterparts because the most of the nursing leaders are females, and then we really don't actually very in a focused manner we try to include our male counterparts. So let's look at what is the Indian narrative. Male dominated positions tend to be rated as more complex and of higher value than skilled female occupations, including nurses. So there is an understanding that all the work that male they do. I mean, there are a lot of role models who have broken that kind of a myth. Earlier days the doctors were male. Now we have more female doctors. Earlier days the engineers were all male. Now we have more female engineers. I think you take any profession, but nursing still remains a female dominated profession, and because we are female dominated, are we sometimes getting sidelined? That's the question. The governments need to reassess the qualification and skills needed for different types of jobs, disregarding the gender that we are coming from. So, what's the Indian narrative? Well, as I told you, in India, we have more than 80% nurses are female. The simple question is, do we really speak up in our roles? This question is towards all the senior nurses, whoever holds position wherever we are. Maybe some of us, some of you are able to say a big yes, I am able to speak up. The second question is, do we have a seat in the board or executive committee or governing council? How many of us can actually say the nurse leaders are sitting in the board where the highest decisions are being made? I have spent time in this profession for so many years, and I know that it was not easy for me to find a place. And it was uphill. And thanks to all those, progressive leaders with whom I worked, who gave me the opportunity to be who I am and also participate in the top level decision making. Some of the nurse leaders are lucky and they are there, but no, everywhere that's not the case. 20 percentage are male nurses. So need to know what is in it for nurses, patients, and organization. Now, do we actually think about that 20% male nurses? How can we utilize them the best way possible? And is there going to be a glass corridor effect in our profession also in India? That's the question that we need to reflect upon. So, friends, let me just quickly take you through my own narrative. You know, I passed out from nursing in 1980 as a staff nurse, and 1980 itself, I got a chance to become ward sister, And then 82 to 97, I was head nurse and supervisor. And 1998, my life changed for good when I became a mother to my son, Akash Aaron. And I took a sabbatical for 3 years. That was a very conscious decision that I had to make to ensure that I give the formative years, 3 years, complete focus on my son. And it is paying off today. 2001, I started as the nursing superintendent, and 2010, I became the group nursing head, and 2012, I stepped out from that role, and then I became executive VP education in a standalone high fidelity simulation center. So varied experience is what I was gathering. And while I got into executive VP education, I came to know education and training at close quarters. And I started training leadership in nursing. And the more I got into it, training, nurse leaders across the country, the more I learned. And I repeat this without any qualms that today, if I have to become a nurse leader of a nursing department, will I behave differently? I will definitely behave differently because I learned so much about leadership. Not the nursing managerial skills are, learnable. You can learn and you can pick up those skills. But being a leader is definitely a different cup of tea, though many of us call ourselves leaders. So I'm going to put some very hard questions. So 2012, I was there. Then 2017, then I became president clinical services of a company where my friends have started. So from the time I stepped out being a group nursing head, I was also exposed to the side of business, marketing, sales, etc. So it was a continuous journey of learning, and that kept me really, really motivated and excited. And come 2020, COVID came, and that's the time I realized probably now I should do one thing that I always had been wanting to, is that to become my own boss and make my own decisions. So that's how Cygnia Healthcare was born. So I'm founder CEO of my own company, and so that's my son, a few years old. Photo there, and he looks very different now. Now he's an engineer and he's doing a fantastic job for a company from UK, and I'm lucky that he works from home. And what I didn't tell you through this story is that I'm also a single parent. From the age of 2, I have brought up my son, and I'm very proud to say that I did my best to make my son a great human being, and I can see that it has given me the results, and I am hugely grateful to God. And I must say, it is my profession, that is being a nurse, probably helped me to become a better mother, a well disciplined one, and probably hardworking and very focused. So, my focus was on excelling at my job and also excelling being a mother. So, I think that focus was very important. And when I made the decision in 2020, my son was by my side, telling me that maybe this is time that you have to branch off and you do something that you always wanted to do. If not now, then when? So that's my narrative, my friends. So let's go on and look at this. I have prepared this for students. So all the students out there, this is typically, a a diagram which says that where can a nurse get into. So if you look here, so all the things right on top, what you see is a group chief nurse and director nursing. So you have all that, and then there are branches on research, education, management, clinical. So this is a borrowed graph. I have not made it. So we know that in India, we start with diploma, BSc, MSc, nurse practitioners, PhD in hospital colleges and in other places. Typically, majority of the nurses are working in the hospital sector, right? So keeping that in mind, today on this Women's Day, I want to challenge us to think that why we nurses are not seen in other leadership positions in healthcare system. There are very few nurses who actually do anything different from the routine ones that we all have been used to. Either you get into academics or you get into services, and then you become the academic ladder, become lecturer, professor, dean, etc. And then on services side up to the level of group head. But I have not seen nurses moving away. There is another thing that I have noticed. In case when nurses move away to any other role, they somewhere drop the story of them being a nurse. And that pains me because that kind of robs the opportunity to motivate other young nurses that you can be a nurse and you can do whatever that you want to do. So that's what Cygnia Healthcare is focused on, showcasing everything that a nurse does, anything different. So being driven is not the same as being passionate. Passion is love for the journey. Drive is the need to reach the destination. So that means the passion of doing something. That means you have to put in some action so that you can reach the destination. And today, my passion is also to do whatever is possible to motivate nurses to reach their highest potential. And me being a nursing head in the services for such a long time, I have seen that majority of our nurses are very happy to do the bare minimum and then get out. So no wonder the hospital administrators, they look at nursing as a cost center rather than a revenue center. And we are revenue centers. If we actually look at it, we are revenue centers. So we need to start learning some different skills apart from uh, yeah, the most important thing is know our job first so well that people should know there cannot be better nurses than this. So the question here is that this is a reality. The picture that you see on the screen is a reality that most promoter run businesses still see future heirs in their male members, and women in the family are given the opportunity to sit in the leadership position only when there are no male heirs. Well, you can look around and you may find such example, obtain number of examples. There is hardly any quality inclusion of women in strategic decision. I had been party to various occasions in various forums where there's a lot of lip service being given for nurses being the backbone, the heart, the brain, I mean, whatever body part they would like to name. But when it actually comes to discussing nursing and nursing profession, everybody will discuss about nurses and nursing. But there won't be a single nurse on the table to contribute to discuss who will know our own profession better than nurses. So there is definitely an inequality that is existing. So one of the things that I learned early on is that we have to know the why, and we have to invest in building relationship with people rather than fighting against the tide. I mean, one need to be strong enough and courageous enough to stand up, and to stand up you need a lot of knowledge, and you need a lot of knowledge not only about nurses, not only about nursing, but also what's happening in the country. You should be able to hold a conversation when you are sitting with other CD members. Knowing the financial part of or the business part of healthcare or hospitals or college will always come as a strength. But what I find is that many times we female nurses are scared of the financial part of it, the cost part of it. So my question is, are we caught in our own glass ceilings? And I always used to say that I stepped out from my organization in 2012 because I saw my glass ceiling. I was not able to execute the ideas that I was having in my head. So I opted to challenge myself, learn something totally new like high fidelity simulation, got out. And that gave me a very different understanding of the world outside hospital. I suddenly became the marketeer. I suddenly became the salesperson. I became the content designer. I became the IT expert. I had to literally build up my skill. So, my friends, my question is that, do not allow this glass ceiling over you. You want to reach your high potentials? One need to know, what are my scope? What are my dreams? What's my passion? Can I convert my passion into action? Not that everybody will become the same thing in their life. So it is very important to understand the growing role of nurses in healthcare. It is not the same role that I was trained in 1980. Today, what I see as the nurse's role is very different. The opportunities are very different. So we have to decide that what what are those battles that I am going to fight. It is not exactly battles. I mean, what reason, what journey I am going to pick up, and I am not going to overreact. Being calm is very important. It's very nice that we become vocal, but you can become vocal with a lot of respect and make your point calmly. And it's very important to have evidence and data behind you when you are talking during such opportunities. Can nurses stand shoulder to shoulder with the doctor and the administrator and talk the clinical piece as well as the business piece with equal acumen? The question is that. So there was an article that I was reading from one of the nurses. I think I'm going to show you that, what did those experienced nurses who have become CEO, what, they are talking about. So I came across this, interview with Carpenter, who is, so if you look here, there's a very interesting thing. She's a CEO, but she has not dropped her title as RN. She's a registered nurse. And many of us, we tend to drop that. And I'm guilty of not using that. In my slide also, I have written, founder, CEO. So today I am promising myself that in future, I am going to write that I am RN, RM, I am RN, RM, RM, and my degree, I'm going to put in there. So this is very important. So if we as leaders are not able to shout to the world that this is what a nurse can be, then how can we expect us to be role models to the young nurses out there? So, do you think there's a major difference between CNO thinking and CEO thinking? This is how for all those nurses who are dreaming to become CEO. Absolutely, that's what is her answer. The having the CNO insight is hugely powerful for a CEO. But for a CEO, you need to balance the care and the business. So we cannot just only look at it from the nurse's point of view. Sometimes we need to look at it from everyone else, maybe from the point of the doctor, the marketing person, the patient, the family, all the departments that you are managing, you have to look at it. So it also goes without saying, even when you're seeing no, we are supposed to look at it from the perspective of a staff nurse, an in charge supervisor, to become a wholesome leader. So this is very important. There is whole scope of skills and negotiation abilities that you need to have to balance all that, because CEO is the chief executive officer. When I do leadership training for nurses, I always say consider yourself as the CEO of your unit. If you start thinking like that, you will start behaving and you take the ownership. One of my friends, frequently she says, that accountability phobia. And I think I love that word. I think many a times what stops us from our progress is that we do not want to be accountable. So that's the time the nurse leaders are very happy to be reporting to the medical and not to the facility head. They're saying, okay, I have some buffer in between. I just have to, report to that person. So do the nurse leaders, they assert and say, no, we are a separate discipline. We would like to report to the The top person, whether it is facility director or CEO, I have known nurse leaders who have asserted themselves and they maintain that, and there are many others who are still fighting to get this organogram corrected. That is the problem in our own country. In other countries it is kind of given. So the next question that was asked to Carpenter was that, well, what advice do you have for nurses interested in become CEOs? So there's a whole lot there. So I would only say that, I tend to agree with her. In the second para, you can see that I would steer prospective nurse CEOs away from a graduate degree in nursing, but rather go for a management degree or an administration degree. So if you have eyes to become a become a CEO, do a master's degree in administration. I have seen a lot of nurses who have done MBAs, but they do not assert themselves to actually get into the business side of it. So in Indian setting, I would always say that when you are working in the nursing, when there is an opportunity to be in the admin, please apply for it. Go ahead, get into that operation side. Why not? Why can't a nurse become a front office HOD? Why can't a nurse become the HOD of housekeeping or admin? Why not? Because we have learned all of that in nursing, and we know the processes that is required for hospital. So why not? Why not assert themselves? I think the challenge is that, are we really courageous enough to come out of our comfort zone? So in leadership, I say something that miracles, they do not happen in the comfort zone. They always happen outside the comfort zone. So you want magical results, be prepared to come out of your comfort zone. Nothing happens there. Third para is also very important. Choose your mentors wisely. You have to find your mentors who can actually challenge you to be the best version of yourself. And once you find the right mentor, stick with them. I'm not saying that you have to always have a nursing mentor, not necessarily. You can have a mentor in some other department also. It all depends that what is your vision or dream. We can always talk for ages together that we don't get the opportunity. My question to everyone is that, what are we doing about to change that? Are we working enough, or are we missing the opportunities that are coming our way? you know so I would suggest that, if you want to become something in your life, become first an excellent nurse, then you become an excellent nurse leader. Side by side, learn the business, apply that in nursing, show to the organization that you are not only just managing the nurses and the nursing duty rosters. Someone was telling me from marketing from one of the companies, he was asking me, ma'am, what to do with the nursing heads who are always busy managing the duty roster? That's very sad. That is not what nurse leaders are supposed to do. If they have to manage their department's duty roster on a daily basis, that means there is something. So that's not a real leader. The real leader should build capabilities. This is very important. And when the opportunities come, can we grab that opportunity courageously? I have seen in my own experience, when there are nurse leaders who are, very good, they have the skills and everything, even when they have an opportunity to become a nursing head in another department. This may be, maybe not out of their control, but because of family reasons, or they are very comfortable in whatever that they are doing. So they say, no, we don't want to move. So we have these challenges in our background. That means your family responsibilities, your children. So now, are there stories where people managed all this? Yes, there are stories who managed all this. But you need to plan that how is it that you're going to spend your time between your professional commitments and your personal commitments. There is always a way. No two narratives are ever the same. They are all different, so we all will find different narratives, and we have to find the way to empower nurses to work at the top of their licenses. I really liked this one. As a staff nurse, am I performing at the top of my license? Is the question. After 2012, I have been in training and education, and I will say answer is no. All our nurses are not able to perform at the top of their licenses. Whether you are a staff nurse or a team leader or a ward sister or a supervisor or a nursing head. I am not giving this as a blanket statement. I am giving this as a majority phenomenon. Where am I coming this from? Because I have trained thousands of nurses for leadership and that many number for other clinical topics. Whenever there is a pretest on basic, knowledge, the 80 percentage, the pass mark that anyone gets is always in single digits. Even for thousands of people who have appeared for my test, it is still not double digit. That speaks volume. Any trade that we pick in, whether it is nursing or anything that in our life, whatever that we pick in, if we don't strive to be the best in that cadre, please do not expect magics to happen to you. It is not. A luck is, that's just by chance. But when the luck opportunity also comes, you have to have the grit, the determination, and the caliber to rise up to that occasion. The question is, are we at the top of our game? If we are not, then we cannot expect miracles. So the three mantras I would like to summarize is that for every nurse, be authentic. Be authentic means just be genuine, just don't fake anything around you. Respect strengths. I put that picture here, crab bucket mentality. You know, this is very, very popular in our profession. And I'm sure that other professionals, when they think about us, they always think that we are like crabs. Why? We just don't like others to progress beyond us. We are many times we are like self-serving. We could be angry. We are always complaining about all the situation that we are in. We could be spreading rumors, lacks empathy, likes to bully, and say, okay, you are going up, I'm going to pull you down. That's what the crab mentality is about. I can't be there, so you also cannot be there. I'm not generalizing. Please pardon me for being so blunt, but I'm not generalizing. But this is the story that is happening in our profession. So we need to think hard about changing something. And this is a phenomenon that I have seen throughout my career. What you see on the picture is a banyan tree. And if you look at the banyan tree, there will be hardly any other plant that will grow beneath it. Don't be a banyan tree, be a multiplier. Make more leaders below you. Allow them. Don't be afraid when you see people who are smarter, the younger ones who are smarter, who are current. They have different ideas. Why not become inclusive of them? And I would say that exploit the talent of current generation, the Gen Y, the millennials. They are different. Can the leaders see them and utilize their power, their thought process to change the way that we are working? The world has changed, the healthcare has changed, the equipments have changed, the patients have changed, the families have changed, everything has changed. Have we changed is the question. Have we changed the way that we prepare our nurses to become patient ready? These are some very hard questions that I would like to ask. Many years ago, when we ran a competition on role models, one of the young nurses made a very strong presentation and she was asking, where are the role models? I'm working in the hospital, I'm a new nurse. Where are my role models? She see people who are doing shortcuts. She sees people, nursing leaders who could be leaders means any level, it doesn't matter, team leader in charge, who are shouting at the young nurses, who are belittling them, or not trying to support and guide them. So this is very rampant. And when we discuss these things in the courses, I can still feel that it is still rampant and being very unfair to the different nurses in their organization or department. Performance surprises which are kind of unfair and biased. So literally, are we making the young nurses to be taking pride in being nurses and preparing them to play at the top of their game? Are we really getting them to come to that level? The responsibility of, preparing the future generation is with us, including me. And we all have different way of contributing to that. So my final thoughts will be break the bias. That is the theme for this year's International Women's Day. So how do we break the bias? Remembering that leadership is a decision. It's a decision that one takes to be a leader as a bedside nurse or as a team leader or as an in charge or a supervisor or ANS or DNS or NS or group CNO, it is a decision. It is a decision that you take to become lateral growth. I would apply for an admin post. I would like to be the HOD of a front office. Who stops you from becoming that? If that is your passion, why not? Your skills needs to be brought to light. Who will know that you have those skills? Remember to look after the one on the right and one on the left. Now these thought processes are from Simon Sinek. I really love the way that he gives leadership mantras, and many of the points are from his speeches. So always learn to look after others and don't be afraid of accountability. We may make mistakes, we may fail, but that's fine. Someone who says that, I have never failed, that means they have never tried. So when we try, we may fail, but take accountability for the failures also. So when something goes wrong, let's give credit for all. Don't take the credit to yourself. But when something fails, please take it on and say, I am responsible for this and I am going to do something about to fix it. Listen, listen, listen to your team. If this is very important, listen, listen, listen to your team. After that, listen to yourself. Sometimes we are not even listening to ourselves because our little voice inside is always whispering the right things to us. And we usually say, shh, I don't want to listen to you. This is very important. Listen to the words that are being spoken and listen to the words that are not being spoken also. This is also very, very important. And always try to speak last. That means you are listening. You're not butting in and you're not talking in between. I'm still struggling with that skill. I would like to listen more and be patient before I talk. I'm still working on it. I'm 63 years old and I'm still struggling. So I'm sure that this is a challenge with most of us. And any research, when you pick up, you will find that listening is the skill that we all can do to do a lot. Now, this is a very different thought I picked up from one of the webinars. I thought, oh, that's very interesting. We always talk about motivating others, motivating others. So, there, it was actually a Kaizen webinar, I think, where they said, first thing is stop demotivating. I think that's a very powerful suggestion for any nurse leader or any nurse, for all of us. We should stop demotivating first. Then only we can start motivating. Sometimes we do customary motivation and immediately say something to demotivate the person also. So think about it. Can we pick up these things and work on the skills that we need to improve so that we can break the bias which is existing within us? I would always think about first breaking the bias that is within us, that's within me, or within the nursing community or the nursing fraternity. Can we break those bias? The thoughts of bias that we hold for each other, where we say that this person is like that. Everyone has a different personality, I agree, But there has to be one focus for the profession, that is that we want to do the best for nurses and nursing, and we need to be aware of the need for that. And when you see the need, are we willing to learn and make the course corrections? These are some hard questions. We tend to make mistakes. And do we learn from those mistakes? There's a saying, no, the only mistake that can happen is when you fail to learn from that mistake. So I ask this question repeatedly that, are we learning enough from other countries, so other hospitals' experience, to make our nurses far more assertive so that they will speak up for the benefit of the patient. Others are going to watch nurses becoming the champions within their hospital. And they want to give nurses more responsibility. They want to trust them with business decisions. They want to trust them to be made to be included in the top level decision making. Are we showing those attributes of knowledge and skills and the skill set of listening and being participative and highly skilled in negotiation rather than head on collision? These are some hard questions I would like to ask today on this International Women's Day to all my nurses, or 80 percentage of them are females. And yes, I would say that we need to be more inclusive to our male counterparts, and I'm sure there are roles that they are going to excel in. So there has to be a strategic plan of including the male nurses who are there in our cadre. So in our profession, probably they will say that we are gender biased because we are not very inclusive, because I read an article where majority of the nursing positions were opened for female nurses. So knowing that we do have overall 20%, 25% male nurses, I mean, there can be a strategy that every hospital can adopt to say that 20 or 25 percentage of the nursing workforce is going to be male nurses, so that they can be utilized in the right departments and they add a huge value in the services that we are providing. That's my personal experience. And so, ladies, let's put our best foot forward. Let's assert ourselves so that we don't have to talk about these inequalities. This is very important because it cannot be one, two, three, four, five, 10 people talking about this and showing that we can be something different. It has to be more. So I used to say when I was a nursing head, I wish nursing excellence will become a norm, not an exception. If in a hospital the nursing excellence is practiced by every single nurse, majority of them are excellent nurses, I think the nurse leader will also get time to pay attention to more strategic and visionary thought process and brainstorming. Otherwise, most of the nurse leaders are today just firefighting. It's a vicious cycle. We cannot blame one person. I blame myself because I'm part of that vicious cycle. I'm trying to do what I can to ignite some controversial thoughts in your mind. I hope that this little session will prompt you to think a little differently, have the courage to do things differently, have the courage to apply for lateral positions if it opens up, if you have a taste for it. And you can't say that nobody makes me CEO. It doesn't happen. CNO will not become a CEO automatically, because you have to show interest in business, that you're interested, you have the capabilities, and yes, pick up a degree in business. Maybe that's what you need to invest. So I would request all the young leaders, nurses out there, if you have such dreams, plan your career. This is very important. Let me also tell you, during my career as the nursing leader, I did have an opportunity after a leadership development program. If I wanted, I could have become a business head. But that time I chose not to diversify myself, because I thought that if I stay in nursing, maybe I can give back to my profession in my own way. And if go away from profession, I may not be able to focus as much as I wanted to. That was my decision. I'm very happy with that. I will not say that I was not given the opportunity and somebody sidelined me. I was given equal opportunity to learn with other leaders who are getting prepared, and I was also given that opportunity. But I decided not to go that way. So that's my narrative, my friends. Choose your path wisely and prepare what you want to achieve. And in case you need someone to talk to, I'm always there. And my number is 9871798914. And you can always find Cygnia Healthcare videos and other things on our Facebook and YouTube channel. And I would love to hear from the young nurses who want to assert and become the top players of their own life. So become the best version of yourself. That's what you can promise to yourself today. Thank you for your patient listening and have a great day and God bless you. Bye bye. So, friends, so my presentation is over, and I hope that this recording will actually ignite some different thoughts in some of you at least and assert yourself. And as I told you, in case you want to have a word with me, my number I already told you. Reach out to me 9871798914. All the best. Be the top of your game.